Hello people, this is question time from last night. Here's the first question.
Gordon Brown, will the Brexit divorce turn messy?
Well, this is a very simple one. It's going to get very, very messy, and that's not because of egos or anything like that. That's because of the systems controlling it from both sides. And when I say the systems controlling it, what I really mean is the banking systems. So we're going head. At the moment, it's being painted up as government going against the EU and the EU, but essentially, governments are powerless today, and people just are not being told that. You know, when you get someone in debt, they're indebted to you, and you've got a lot more power over what they do. And that's exactly what the banking industry's got. And that's why I'm telling you, everyone who's listening to this now, there will be chaos. Because it isn't governments really. Ultimately, it's going to be the banks deciding the deal. They're going to be behind the government, telling the government what they want and what they need. And, you know, potentially at risk is another massive financial crash. That's from my opinion. The markets are going to push both the pound and the euro as far as they can, and the problem with that is if they pushes it too much and it collapses, well, any of them, the pound or the euro, obviously we're led to believe that the euro would crash before us, because obviously I think it is weaker in the sense that independent countries are using it, and they're not really united. So from that point of view, the euro is weaker because of the collective debt of each country. But if you take each country's debt in isolation to the UK, to be honest, there's not that much of a difference. All countries are in massive debt, and that's why we're going to get chaos. I truly believe that we are going to see, and all this crap about it being done in 2 years, dream on. It is not going to be completed in 2 years. It is going to take a hell of a lot longer. And what's going to happen is we're going to get some type of transition system put in place, because the UK is like one of the EU is like a triangle, and the UK is one of those corners, and we're pulling it out, and that's just going to cause chaos on a scale that we've never seen in modern times. How it's going to translate and how it's going to create a financial crash, we will see. But I do not believe for a second that temperature is just going to get out of control. It is going to get out of control because the pressure is massive for both sides. It's going to cost billions, and all this money could have easily been put into something like a basic income for every EU citizen, for every person in the EU, including the UK. Yeah, this billions of pounds is going to cost taking the UK out. We could have all got a basic income. The rich, the poor, even people on the street, they could have got a basic income so they could afford to feed themselves and find a home. But oh no, we can't do that. We just got to keep playing this rhetoric of we're better off out. No, we're not. The debt is the biggest problem, and this Tory government used it twice in 2010 and 2015 to get in power, and now they can't keep using it because they know they've done a terrible job on the economy. So now they've moved all the attention over to Brexit. It is just sweeping the debt under the carpet because it's difficult to deal with, but let's just put another big issue in the way so we could just keep sweeping the debt under the carpet. This is not going to end well, and I will leave it there because I could go on for hours, but nobody would watch it. Right, question number 2.
How much danger will there be to workers' rights from the Great
repeal bill. Right, but this is...
I suppose the first thing you've got to ask is, how much do we trust the Tory party to keep workers' rights? Bearing in mind, we know the Tories are more for the winners in the country. So, in other words, millionaires who's made a lot of money from putting people into jobs, or you could say enslaving them. Do we trust the Tory party not to? They're in power. It's quite obvious that they're going to do things that benefits them and their supporters. That's the way democracy works. As long as people keep voting for the Tory party, they're going to keep doing what they've always done, and that's looking after the wealthy, partly to do with the fact they're keeping them in the country. And you know, the same with multinational companies. It is not an easy balance, because they're free to go wherever they want. You know, it's only the average people and the poor people that's actually trapped within borders. You know, the wealthy can go where they want. The Tory party could probably go where they want. They've got plenty of money. That's the problem, people. Is borders don't help anyone. Borders are there to keep the poor within each area. But I just don't think it's just, yeah, I just don't think it's right myself. Everything should be going through Parliament, regardless of how long it takes. But the Tory party wants to get everything done for 2019, so then they can go to the election and say, look, we've got it all done. Mathematically, it is impossible. You know, if this is going to be rushed through like the Tory party wants it to, so the negotiations are going to be rushed through, everything's going to be rushed through, so the Tory party can say in 2020, yeah, we delivered what we said, the people voted out, we delivered it. It's just going to be a cowboy exit from the EU, and we don't want that. If we get that, it goes back to the last question, that we're just going to get a massive financial crash. It's going to be chaos. I just can't see it any other way. Right. I'll move on to the next question. Question number 3 now.
With no MPs and Brexit achieved, is UKIP finished? Right, John.
Wow, UKIP finished. The one thing, you could call this a conspiracy theory, but isn't it funny, within a few days of the vote, Nigel Farage, that was a Tory supporter up until I think it was 1992, is when they signed the new deal for the EU, and he left the Tory party. And since then, he's been for trying to get the country back out the EU. I find it so funny that as soon as he achieved that with UKIP, he walked. So, I'm sorry, there's a lot of powerful people within the Tory party that wanted Brexit so bad. I believe deep down, somewhere along the line, Nigel Farage was the front boy for UKIP, and he got a lot of funding from the Tory party, obviously all behind doors. I ain't got no proof to back this up, it's just a conspiracy theory, but it just does not make sense to me. Why would a political party that got one of their main goals brought through, you know, none of it makes sense with how they collapsed. And now that, you know, now that Nigel Farage has got what he wanted and we're leaving the EU, the past few months he's been distant. I reckon within the next few years he will be within the Tory party. But what he's got to do is he's got to hope that either the UKIP party collapses and finishes, but if they stays on, it makes it very difficult politically for him to go back to the Tory party. So he needs to, with some of his wealthy mates, because he's a wealthy man, he's worth over 2 million himself. But you wouldn't think that by the way he talks, would you? But yeah, he needs UKIP gone. That's the only way, really. That's the only way he's going to be able to go back to the Tory party. And he knows it's going to be a long job, because he's still being pushed back into UKIP. And he don't, deep down, I do not believe he wants to be UKIP now. The only reason he left the Tory party in 1992 was because they signed up to the EU treaty, and he hated it. I think it was the Lisbon Treaty or something like that, and he hated it. That's why he left the Tory party. He never left because of all the other ideologies that they got. He's pretty much on par with them, but he just hated the EU. And I swear to God, give it a few years, he's going to be going back to the Tory party. But first, he needs UKIP to collapse. And let's be honest, like the panel was saying, only the really die-hard Tory UKIP supporters that's actually actually really believed in the party and made it what it was, made it a stronger party, are the ones that's keeping the party going. Personally, I reckon all the funding is drying up, because obviously the loops that these Brexit Tory MPs has probably got to help fund it that's probably been all stopped now. So there's probably a whole chain of loops, because obviously they don't want nothing coming back to them. But they used UKIP to get what they wanted, to get the PM, Dave Cameron at the time, to force a referendum on the EU, and they got what they wanted. And now I think they're out to destroy UKIP, but they underestimated that when you get a big party getting support, it's very hard to try and destroy that support quickly. And I think that's why Nigel has gone on to radio shows, and that's why he does the reporting now on that radio. I think, I don't know what channel it is, but yeah, LBA or something like that it's called, I think. And that he knows it's going to take a few years for UKIP to be destroyed. Once UKIP is out and there's ain't got much support, I guarantee you Nigel Farage would be in the Tory party again. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's got ambitions to not only be in the Tory party, but to be the leader of the Tory party. I'll leave it there. I know that's a big conspiracy, but hey, only time will tell if I'm right. Question number 4 now.
Sergeant Blackman, Marine A, is about to be released. Does the country really understand the nasty, harsh reality of modern?
This is a hard one for me, because when you've got armies, they're sent to go and kill. And I watched a little clip of what happened, and by the gist of it, he killed someone that was on the floor. But then I think the law has to take into account why they're there and the pressures they're under. They're human beings. Oh yeah, they've had training, but that still it don't matter how much training you give someone. It is still a psychological thing that I think is still going to be there. And I don't think he should have ever been locked up myself. Yes, I know there's standards to what the army's got to be looked at. The British Army has got to go above what other terrorist groups would do, but at the same time, we've got to understand they're just human beings like us. Yeah, they've had their training, but when you're there in the battle and that other man's got a gun, he wants to blow your brains out, and you've got to hit him before he should have never gone to jail. I know is a difficult one, but I don't think he should have went to jail. In fact, he shouldn't have went to jail. Alright, let him go through the court systems and maybe I hate to say it, but maybe affect his career a bit within the army. But I don't think he should have went to jail. That's just wrong. Because let's face it, if this Taliban bloke shot him, that Taliban bloke wouldn't have went to the ISIS jail. He would have had the life of luxury, being called a hero, and how he killed a British personnel. Yeah, so no, I don't like war. War doesn't do nothing. All war does is create more pain, and then the next generation feels that pain. So that just keeps the cycle of hate going. And I know some people feel that we need it. I just think that humanity would be better off not killing each other. But sadly, that we don't live in that world. But yeah, this soldier, he should have never been sent to jail. I think it was wrong, and the quicker he's out, the better, as far as I'm concerned. He should have never went to jail for doing his job. And at the end of the day, war is a nasty thing, and we're so isolated from it because of TV regulations and all the other crap. You know, I've even had people say to me, "Oh, I don't like seeing stuff like that on my Facebook." That's all well and clear, just ignoring it. But in order to try and solve the problem, you've got to know the problem exists, and that's why I do have some, not real nasty stuff, but you know, like, I just feel that the population needs to see the reality, but it's so hidden away that we're living in this it's just not right. I would have gave him the benefit of the doubt, because at the end of the day, that Taliban would have killed him, or ISIS, whoever it was, because it was a few years ago now, I think. But yeah, I'm just happy he's getting out, and I think it was wrong to even send him to jail. So, right, now we're on to the last question. Question number 5.
Is the recent Health England decision to charge for gluten-free foods and other products the beginning of pay-as-you-go NHS?
That's right, that's it.
Right, okay, the last one's on the NHS. You know, let's call this for what it is. This is about saving money. This is nothing to do with stopping these particular prescriptions for the basic stuff that you could buy over the counter. All this is doing is saving money. The money they're going to save by doing this isn't going to be put into anything else. It's going to be savings that the NHS has got to find. So when people try to blur the area and say, "Oh, well, you know, we're denying cancer patients their drugs because people getting..." Well, no, that ain't the case. The NHS has never said that. They've said, "We will stop doing this because it would save us millions." You know? So it is not, "Oh, well, we can save millions, but then we can give cancer patients their drugs." Oh, no, it wasn't that. You know, I've read quite a bit of this, and it is just a purely saving point of view. So it's taking the cost from the NHS and putting it onto people, putting it onto the public. Well, individuals, not the public. Individuals that needs it, and it is a slippery road to privatisation. There's no doubt about that. I just feel at any point, any one of us in this country, in the UK, could actually become ill, and we may need gluten-free food or some other type of lower end medicine. Like, obviously I agree with, like, if people's going to the doctor to get sun cream, I'm sorry, that's just out of order from an individual point of view. Because you can get, yeah, sun cream is expensive, but at the end of the day, unless the patient has got more complications, say if the patient did get sunburn, and then that could escalate into something even worse and end up costing the NHS even more to deal with that, then I think that's a question that needs to be answered. But if there's no such thing as medication like that, because some medication are preventative medication, and it's far easier to prevent something than stopping that and then having that particular individual having to go into hospital and spend months in hospital to be given medication to deal with the problem. Where if she was given that basic stuff beforehand, the NHS saves money because they don't have to deal with the aftermath of it. So this is more to do with saving money than it is anything else. It is just being wrapped up in an avenue of employing stuff, and that's what this is nothing to do. This is just purely about saving millions. That millions is not going to be put back into the NHS to buy drugs for patients with cancers or anything else like that. It is just purely a saving measure and offsetting that money. And the other thing I think is, why the hell is the NHS paying more for these products? You know, who the hell is coming up with these deals? So Boot and Bread is one of the key things. So we know that Boots has got the biggest contract. Well, Boots does all the contracts basically, does it? Pharmacy for the NHS pretty much. So who's signing all these NHS deals that's costing the taxpayers more? You know, if it's cheaper to buy in the supermarket, but yet the NHS is so massive and can buy in bulk, I do not understand why the NHS is being charged more. If the NHS is going to buy loads of it, then your point of it should be cheaper. So I think we're being totally lied to by the government and partly by the NHS, because the NHS is terrible at doing deals. You know, if you're bulk buying something like the NHS should be doing, we should be getting it cheaper. The reason we're not goes to show that we haven't got good negotiators in the NHS negotiating on our end, on our basis, to get the best deals. So, but then we've got a Tory government, and their plan since the very beginning has been to undermine the NHS and destroy it and have healthcare, be it private healthcare through insurance, with a few little tweaks to make it more to make it more acceptable in the UK. So it won't be pure profit, but it would be a substantial amount of profit. And at the moment, as I said in my other video, the NHS at the moment is paying wages and for drugs, right? So if we go for private sector, those costs will still exist. Plus, the private sector doesn't do it out of the goodness of their heart, do they? They do it for profit. So you would have the wages of the staff, then you would have the drugs cost, but on top of that, a lot more money would be added to put in the profit margin. So when people say, oh, the NHS is bloated, it's costing us too much. No, it isn't, people. It is just an ideology of destroying the National Health Service. And it's so sad that the population is happy to let it just die. You know, you never know what you've got until it's gone. And when the NHS is gone, there's going to be a lot of people who's going to be going without care because they just can't afford it. And you know, just like it is in America, there's states in America where people don't bother going to the doctor because they haven't got the money to pay for it. And that's in the 21st century. You know, but it's all kept out of the media, it's all brushed under the carpet because it's the poor people, don't worry about them. Yeah, well, I'll leave it there now, people. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Ta-da.